The night, the stars danced in a rickety old treehouse perched high above the sleepy village of whispering willows. 10-year-old Lila and her papa huddled under a tattered quilt. The wind howled outside, rattling the wooden walls, but inside, the air buzzed with excitement. It was story time, and Lila, with her wild curls and muddy boots, reached for a dusty, enormous book she'd never noticed before, tucked behind a cobweb-covered lantern on the highest shelf. The cover sparkled like it was made of stardust, and as she cracked it open, a gust of glittery wind whooshed out, tickling her nose. "This is no ordinary book," Papa said, his voice trembling with mischief. "It's about the wildest, most spectacular animal dance party in the universe." The room shimmered, and suddenly Lila felt the treehouse lurch as if it were about to blast off. "Close your eyes, Lila," Papa whispered. "Our adventure's beginning." With a whoosh, they landed in the icy, howling wilderness of the Arctic Circle, where snow swirled like a tornado of marshmallows. Lila shivered, her teeth chattering louder than a woodpecker on a tin roof. "Brr, can you feel that freezing wind?" Papa asked, pulling the quilt tighter. There, waddling through the blizzard, was a plump penguin papa, his feathers ruffled and his beak chapped from the cold. He stood guard over a tiny egg, balancing it on his frost-bitten feet while icy waves crashed nearby, threatening to sweep him away. "He's so brave," Lila squealed, imagining the penguin's cozy hug. But then, crack, a chunk of ice broke off, nearly toppling the penguin into the freezing sea. Lila gasped, clutching Papa's arm. Just in time, a gigantic hot air balloon, painted with polka dots and patched with duct tape, swooped down. "Hop in," Papa shouted. They waved goodbye to the soggy, shivering penguin as the balloon rocketed into the sky, swaying wildly in the gusty wind. Next, they crash-landed in the scorching, sandy savanna of Africa, where the sun blazed like a giant pizza oven. Sweat dripped down Lila's face as she squinted at a towering elephant papa, his trunk swaying like a floppy fire hose. His enormous ears flapped, but they were tattered and sunburned from standing guard over his family all day. "Look at him protecting his herd," Papa said. But then, stomp, a clumsy baby elephant tripped, kicking up a dust storm that stung Lila's eyes and clogged her nose with gritty sand. The elephants trumpeted, spraying muddy water to cool off, but a swarm of buzzing flies dive-bombed Lila, making her swat and squirm. Suddenly, a dazzling magic carpet zoomed in, its fringes frayed and its colors faded from too many adventures. "Time to fly," Papa yelled. They zipped away, the wind whipping Lila's curls into a tangled mess as they soared across the globe. They splashed down in the soggy forests of North America, where grizzly bears lumbered through ankle-deep mud. Leaves crunched under Lila's boots. Or they would have, if she hadn't slipped and landed in a slimy puddle. "Yuck," she groaned, wiping muck off her hands. A grizzly papa stood knee-deep in a rushing river, teaching his cubs to fish. His fur was matted and dripping, and a sneaky fish slapped him in the face with its tail. Lila giggled, giving Papa a squishy bear hug, but then, splash! A cub splashed her with icy water, soaking her to the bone. A rickety canoe bobbed nearby, its wood splintered and leaking. "Climb aboard," Papa said. They paddled off, the canoe wobbling like a tipsy turtle, until they washed up on the rocky shores of California. There, a sea otter Papa floated in the salty waves, cradling his baby on his belly. His fur was tangled with seaweed, and a crab pinched his paw, making him yelp. "Ouch," Lila said, imagining the sting. The air smelled like fishy socks, and a gull swooped down, stealing a clam right from the otter's grasp. A giant seashell, chipped and slimy with algae, rolled up. "Next stop," Papa cheered. They climbed in, the shell spinning like a wonky top across the ocean, until they tumbled into the lush, damp forests of North America. A red fox Papa darted through the trees, his bushy tail snagged with burrs. He wrestled with his kits, but one accidentally bonked him on the nose with a pine cone. Lila laughed, leaping through imaginary leaves, but then snap, a branch broke under her foot, sending her sprawling into a pile of prickly thorns. A massive eagle, its feathers molting and its talons chipped, swooped down. "Up we go," Papa hollered. They soared over jagged mountains, the wind blasting Lila's face until her cheeks turned red and raw. They dove into the cool, choppy ocean, where a cardinal fish Papa swam, his mouth stuffed with eggs. His fins were frayed from dodging hungry eels, and a current nearly swept him into a spiky urchin. "He's so careful," Lila marveled, but a jellyfish floated by, zapping her arm with a tiny sting. A rusty submarine hummed nearby, its lights flickering. "All aboard," Papa said. They squeezed inside, the cramped space smelling like old socks, and glided into a dazzling coral reef. Seahorse Papas bobbed in the currents, their bellies round with eggs. One had a tail tangled in coral, tugging helplessly, while another dodged a nosy crab snapping at his fins. "They're so gentle," Lila said, but a wave rocked the submarine, banging her elbow against the wall. A giant bubble, sticky and wobbly, floated up. "Last ride," Papa announced. They climbed in, the bubble popping and fizzing as it shot through the clouds. Lila's stomach flipped as they soared higher, past dripping mist and rumbling thunder, until they hovered among the twinkling stars. The earth glowed below, and Lila yawned, her eyes drooping. With a soft pop, the bubble burst, and they landed back in the creaky treehouse, the magical book glowing faintly on the floor. Lila snuggled into the quilt, her boots still muddy, her curls a mess. "Good night, Lila," Papa whispered, tucking her in. "Dream of all the brave animal papas, and your own." The stars winked outside, and the treehouse sighed as she drifted off. Listen up, little adventurers. Life can be wild and messy, just like Lila's journey. Sometimes you'll slip in mud, get stung by jellyfish, or tangle your hair in the wind. But that's okay. Every brave papa in the story faced tough stuff too, like cold feet or pesky crabs, but they kept going for their families. You can be brave like them. When things get hard, hug someone you love, take a deep breath, and try again. The world's full of magic if you keep exploring, so don't give up. You're stronger than you think.